Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Swami Jyotirmayananda Society, our journey to self realization. Please subscribe for the mystical meanings and to enjoy daily satsang. We are currently exploring the book Yoga Essays for Self Improvement, authored by Swami Jyotirmayananda, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So, in today's satsang, we will be starting a beautiful topic of how to develop compassion. In general parlance, the term compassion implies a blend of sympathy, mercy, and love. However, the ideal form of compassion is divine. God is described as Karuna Sagar, or the ocean of compassion. While sympathy, pity, mercy, and similar qualities connote the presence of a superiority complex, compassion is devoid of any egoistic vision. Although it is more positive to express pity, even though backed up by egoistic vision, than to manifest cruelty through one's deeds, an aspirant must see the vast difference between the quality of pity and the virtue of compassion. He who expresses pity on the basis of an egoistic sense of superiority intensifies his ignorance, and he who receives such pity humiliates himself in the eyes of his own reason. Every human being is essentially divine, godlike. Your acts of kindness should not be based upon the illusion that you are all important to some persons and that they cannot survive without your assistance. On the other hand, he who gives true compassion and he who receives it are both elevated. It is a mutual reciprocal uh, effect of the spiritual affirmation that God dwells in all. Compassion arising from the ego transcending dimension of one's consciousness thus aids the growth of spiritual life in other people as well. In addition, the development of compassion depends upon the revelation of the inner majesty of the divine self. Compassion is the fragrance of the flower of divine love. It is not dependent upon a circumstantial development. Therefore, the compassion of a sage is not dependent upon the presence of the miserable towards whom he ought to be compassionate. Rather, it is his very nature, like fragrance emitting from a flower, or like moonlight radiating from the moon. A sage radiates compassion in his surroundings. As long as your heart is filled with impressions of cruelty and gross indifference towards the miseries of others, you cannot enshrine God within it. Let your heart melt with the gentle rays of compassion so that you may flow out of the prison bars of your personality and commune with the universal self. On the one hand, people are very kind and compassionate towards their near and dear relatives. They can be very generous towards those to whom they become attached. But beyond the limited circle of egoistic relationships, they are insensitive to the needs of others. An aspirant must belong to the whole universe. He should not continue to remain confined to a limited vision of family and friends. However, this universal feeling does not imply a cruel indifference towards his relatives. Rather, it enables him to be more profound, sincere, and effective towards them as he learns to overstep his egoistic barriers. Regular practice of purifying selfless service, good association, repetition of mantra with divine feeling, inward surrender to the divine self, and constant reflection upon the nature of the self. These enable a person to melt his stony heart and unfold them within himself the grandeur of universal life. When the impressions of anger, hatred, Pride, cruelty, and greed begin to dissolve due to the development of the positive impressions of love, compassion, humility, and generosity. The inner stream of life begins to commune with the universal life. Therefore, a sage becomes a fountain source of inspiration to himself as to all around him. Let's look at a classic example of compassion. Sage Valmiki was a robber in his earlier days. By the influence of great sages, he changed his habits and became a devotee of Lord Rama. After prolonged practice of devotion and samadhi, he emerged as a totally transformed personality. He who had been so insensitive to others' miseries became so soft and compassionate in his heart that when he saw a bird being separated from its mate to the cruel arrow of the hunter, he felt such an upsurge of compassion that the outward event became a mirror reflecting the miseries of living beings. Urged by this compassionate feeling, he composed a marvelous poetic work, the Ramayana, which abounds with amazing literary excellence, poetic sublimity, and mystic insight. The Ramayana contains both the story of Lord Rama and Yoga Vasishtha, the voluminous work on classical Vedanta. Thus, and Lord Buddha and Jesus were also embodiments of compassion. They lived only to relieve human beings of their deep rooted maladies. Their acts of compassion belong not just to the period of time in which they existed, but to all humanity and at all times. Therefore, an aspirant should meditate upon the lofty examples of sages and saints. He should study their teachings, admire their actions, and live in the atmosphere which they created by their elevated states of consciousness. Patanjali Maharishi says in Raj Yoga, Vishoka va Jyotishmati. By practicing meditation on the sorrowless minds of sages, one attains a luminous mind which enters into samadhi. By keeping in view the ideals of great men and great personalities, one overcomes all the defects of one's personality and becomes transformed into a divine being. Imagine the journey from hatred to love, from anger to divine compassion and understanding. Compassion as a spiritual quality. Raja Yoga teaches that an aspirant must develop these four qualities, which is mudita, meaning cheerfulness towards one's superior, maitri or friendliness towards one's equal, karuna or compassion towards one's inferiors, and upeksha or indifference towards those who are gross and perverted. By the development of these qualities, an aspirant learns to maintain a balanced mind in day to day life while dealing with different types of personalities. As you know, there are all kinds of people in the world. Some are loving and understanding, some are angry and grouchy. So, and some are better than us, some will be below us. So, understanding which category they belong and how to react is these four beautiful scripture in Yoga Vashishta and how to understand this. He and in Raj Yoga also. He thus progresses on the path of meditation and samadhi. Moreover, the promotion of sattva or harmony and the subjugation of rajas and tamas, which is activity and inertia, constitute the basic theme of spiritual disciplines. When sattva increases in one's personality, the divine quality of compassion begins to unfold. As long as one's personality is disbalanced and eccentrically developed, this divine quality of the inner self cannot manifest in one's thoughts and actions. In a disbalanced personality, the egoistic sentiment of attachment is mistaken for tender divine love, and selfish actions are mistaken for selfless service of humanity. Therefore, bring about integration and balance in your personality by the practice of a harmonious blend of wisdom, devotion, meditation, and action in your daily life. When your heart is purified by the nectarine waters of compassion, you will be able to commune with others. The same self dwells in all. Therefore, you will be able to feel others' sufferings as if they were your own. However, your awareness of others' misery will not result in an empty feeling of sorrow. Rather, it will flow in a stream of practical action which promotes harmony and peace in the world. Compassion is the gateway to cosmic love. It is the fragrance emanating from spiritual wisdom. It is the diffused light of the mystic dawn heralding the advent of self realization. Be kind and compassionate. Do not shut yourself off from the glorious horizons of cosmic expansion by creating prison bars of gross impressions, by yielding to egoistic desires, hatred, and anger and greed, and by constantly pursuing your selfish urges. You are like a man who unwittingly builds a cement wall only to find himself completely enclosed in a mausoleum of his own construction. So we trap ourselves. Be compassionate and grow in the image of God. By the practice of compassion, you will discover your essential nature and attain freedom from the cycles of birth and death. May we all develop a loving and a compassionate heart. This is Swami Nikhilananda, and I will see you in tomorrow's satsang, where we will be starting a new topic, how to develop contentment. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Hari Om Tat Sat.